Your child hangs back at the birthday party, every birthday party, and you tell yourself it's fine, it's just his personality. But somewhere underneath that, you are quietly wondering whether you are watching the beginning of something you can't undo. What if the temperament is not the problem? What if the thing that actually tips a shy child into real anxiety has almost nothing to do with how shy they are, and almost everything to do with something you can change starting today? 3 things keep anxiety from taking hold in an inhibited child, and one of them is a parenting habit that feels like the opposite of a risk. Here is what the science actually says. In a 3-year longitudinal study, researchers tracked children who showed what psychologists call behavioral inhibition, that consistent across the board pulling back from anything new. And they followed those children long enough to see whose anxiety grew and whose didn't. What they found was not that shy children develop anxiety. What they found was that shy children with insecure attachment develop dramatically more anxiety than shy children whose attachment is secure. Neither factor alone was as potent as both together. And then, this is the part that changes how you think about everything. Anxious rearing style had its own direct additive effect on top of that, independent of the child's temperament entirely. That is the 2-lever model. Temperament is fixed, the parenting response around it is not. First, understand what behavioral inhibition actually is, because it is probably not what you are picturing. This is not a child who is shy sometimes, or nervous around strangers, or needs a minute to warm up. Behavioral inhibition is a consistent temperamental pattern of withdrawal from novelty. New people, new places, new situations, across contexts and across time. Your son who won't go to a new park without standing at the gate for 10 minutes. Your daughter who asks the same preparatory questions every single time before any new experience. That is the trait the researchers were studying. If you recognize it, you are not imagining it. And recognizing it is the first step, because the research is clear that this temperament is not going anywhere. The question is never whether to fix it. The question is what you build around it. Second, your attachment relationship is doing more heavy lifting than you know. And this is where the finding gets genuinely hopeful. The study showed that a securely attached child with high behavioral inhibition looked dramatically less anxious than an insecurely attached child with the same temperament. The attachment relationship was acting as a buffer, not erasing the trait, but keeping it from becoming a disorder. What that means practically is that the moments your child runs back to you after a scary new situation, and you receive him calmly, without alarm, without immediately removing the scary thing, those moments are doing protective work that compounds across years. You are not just soothing him right now. You are building the internal working model that tells him the world is navigable and you are reliable. That is not a small thing. That is the lever. And the third thing is the one most parents have backwards. But it only makes sense once you understand what the buffer is actually made of. So stay with me for this next one. Third, anxious rearing adds its own risk, independently of how shy your child is. This was a separate finding from the interaction effect, meaning even after accounting for the child's temperament, parents who modeled worry, restricted exploration, or over-reassured their children added to the anxiety trajectory on their own. Over-reassurance deserves to land here because it is the one that feels most like love. When your inhibited child is distressed at the new playground and you say, Okay, we can go, it's fine," you are solving the immediate problem and quietly signaling that the situation was, in fact, dangerous. Not because you said so, but because leaving confirmed it. The research-supported swap is not to push her past her window. It is to stay close, stay calm, and let the novelty resolve on its own timeline without extracting her from it. Your presence is the reassurance. Your regulated nervous system is the message. One honest limit here. This study was conducted with young children, and the researchers were tracking anxiety symptoms over a 3-year window in that early developmental period. If your child is older, or if clinical anxiety is already present, this research gives you direction, not a treatment plan. And a conversation with a professional is a different tool than a parenting adjustment. Do not use this video as a reason to manage it alone if the distress is significant. Now, the carry-through. The 3-year follow-up in this study showed that these effects are stable and cumulative. Early parenting habits do not create a momentary anxious reaction. They shape a trajectory, which means the direction matters more than any single moment. You do not have to get every pickup right. You do not have to perform calm when you do not feel it. What you are building is a pattern, and patterns are made of hundreds of small repetitions, not one perfect response. The fact that you are here parsing the difference between temperament and trajectory, that is already the pattern working.